Hey everyone, Matron here, bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary. By popular demand, bringing you another vileSpanishiwa game, this time a ZVZ featuring Spanishiwa against Complexity Gaming's FireZerg. So we'll be on Typhon Peaks here, one of my favorite maps, just because it's really large. Sometimes can make for macro games, but in ZVZ, it can get pretty dicey in the early going. Depending on your build order, very build order dependent. You want to get good scouting, know exactly what your opponent's going for, because many builds just hard counter other builds in ZVZ. If you try to go for a fast expand and your opponent goes for speedlings, he can often shut it down and really put you behind economically and army-wise. So we'll see how Spanishiwa's interesting build will fare here in ZVZ. I haven't seen many ZVZs cast for Spanishiwa, mostly ZVT, where you can really take advantage of the fungal growths and the speedlings and the nidus, and a few ZVPs, but ZVZ, something that I'm a little in the dark about Spanishiwa at this point. FireZerg, a very strong player in his own right. I was checking out Complexity Gaming's site a little bit earlier, and they actually have a pretty decent roster of players at this point. They all have pictures up and little quotes, and FireZerg's quote is that amateurs do it until they get it right, and professionals do it until they can't get it wrong. So Complexity Gaming, full of a bunch of motivated individuals. We'll see how FireZerg is able to do against a strong Vile opponent in Spanishiwa. Looks like he's going for a gas and speedling build in the early going here. Spanishiwa getting down that 16 hatch, and again, that's a pretty late hatch. Most people would usually get it down around 14 or 15 at the very latest, but Spanishiwa says this 16 hatch really works with his build, getting out workers continuously, as you see him get down his pool finally, and he continues to do this 16 hatch against Zerg players. I've actually seen him change his build a little bit against Terran and Protoss, just because they are getting in the habit, now that he's a little bit more famous, making the sort of the PR rounds this week. They're trying to block his fast hatchery because they know that getting out those queens, getting out the spine crawlers in that natural position is so important for him. So he has been getting out his hatchery around 13 and then getting around a 15 pool just to prevent that block. So it's going to put his economy back a little bit from that 16 hatch. And it looks like the hatch is going to come up just about the same time as these Zerglings will be making their way over to Spanishiwa's base. He may be losing this drone as these Zerglings, quite slow at the start, speed about a quarter of the way done, and FireZerg set to take his own expansion. So these Zerglings going to be able to get a good idea of the build of Spanishiwa at this point. His pool just comes up, so he's going to start his queens and start some lings. And these Zerglings going to try to make trouble against these drones, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to get any drones down at this point. It is 17 harvesters to 14, and now we see the famous spine crawler coming out for Spanishiwa. He's got a few Zerglings as well, going to try to micro those best that he can. There's a few low Zerglings for FireZerg. They took a few shots from those drones. If we check the production tab, it looks like more and more Zerglings coming out for FireZerg. And he's also got speed about to finish, so he's going to be able to get across the field very quickly here. The spine crawler finishing just now for Spanishiwa, and he's got his first queen, I believe, done. No, yeah, first queen done, second queen on the way. Now it looks like Spanishiwa going to be able to do a little bit of a counter here, but all the Zerglings do have speed for FireZerg, so he's going to be able to get a great surround here. If we check out the Zergling numbers, it is 17 now to just the 2. So Spanishiwa really far behind here, going to try to get up a spine crawler. Does a nice job taking down an overlord, so that might put his opponent a little bit behind. But now he's going to have to block this ramp with these queens. They're going to do their best to take down these Zerglings, but just so many Zerglings here. One queen very low, going to micro it back. Nice job of that. But the second queen will go down, and the spine crawler are going to be doing a little bit of DPS here, but taking 2 shots to kill those Zerglings, and the Zerglings very good surrounding the spine crawler here. More and more Zerglings coming out for Spanishiwa. Another queen might get surrounded here. Spine crawler does come up, but again these speedlings just pouring in for FireZerg. Spanishiwa doing his best to save these queens. Again, he does not use much energy on injects in the early going. He wants to get those transfuses so he can keep his queens alive. One queen has 3 kills, another does have 3 kills as well, and more Zerglings coming out for FireZerg. If we check out 28 Zerglings, they're going to try to bust up this ramp. A transfuse goes off on one of those low queens, and now going to be making their way into the natural here. And it looks like retreating at the moment, but FireZerg coming out with more and more lings, 17 in all. And he's going to be doing tons of damage, trying to make his way up into the main. He will. So we'll check the queens down here, going to be cleaning up the remaining Zerglings. And now it looks like drone's going to have to take on these Zerglings up in the main. Looks like just one drone going down at this point. So Spanishiwa doing a nice job cleaning this up, but there's a lot of pressure continuously from FireZerg at this point. Spanishiwa might have turned a corner here. He's got these 3 queens, one with 8 kills. He's got the Spinecrawler, 10 kills on that. And he's finally got a decent number of Zerglings, 9 Zerglings. Again, no speed for him. And we are pretty even Harvester-wise. It is 19 to 21. FireZerg darting in here, going to take down another free drone or 2, forcing a cancel on that Spinecrawler. And now 2 more Spinecrawlers in production for vileSpanishiwa. He does not know when this pressure will stop. It looks like if we check the production tab, it looks like a lot of drones coming for FireZerg. So he does have his expansion up and running, and he's just going to be droning up here. Spanishiwa is sending out some scouts, so we'll see. He's going to be able to see the army of his opponent. He's going to see not many drones here, not many units, in fact, and he's going to see that line of drones. And he's actually going to cancel those Spinecrawlers. So that's something that he often does. He does great scouting. A lot of people think that this build is just very defensive, but it's based entirely on scouting. So he was able to save himself a bit of minerals there and headache. He's able to now take 2 extra gas. He's already got the gas in his main. And again, this is something he likes to do, delay that gas as long as possible. Typically gets up all 4 geysers at once. And we see 6 drones on the way. He's going to be a little bit behind in lair tech, as FireZerg does have his lair about 1/3 of the way complete. There's just more and more drones coming out for Spanishiwa. He knows that his opponent will not be very aggressive at this point. And now darting in here, perhaps to get a drone or 2 of his own. 1 drone does go down. And it looks like he has superior numbers of Zerglings as well, but with the drones and the queen here, not sure he's going to be able to do too much damage. He did take down about 2 or 3 drones though, so just being an annoyance. And he actually forced FireZerg coming out with another 20 Zerglings, so maybe overreacting a little bit to that pressure. Maybe knowing that Spanishiwa, that's all the army that he does have, but great blocks with these queens. We saw the 1 queen, or the 2 queens down here, blocking off that mineral line to the natural, and then 2 queens right on the ramp. The queens have very high energy, so they are going to be able to transfuse. So we see a few drones getting low, darting into that extractor to save themselves. And now 2 queens getting caught out here. He needs to get some transfuses off on these queens, but he will not. So 2 queens going down for free for Spanishiwa. A 3rd queen coming in here. They have to hold the ramp. Transfuses finally going down. These queens doing their best against these Zerglings, but just not enough firepower for Spanishiwa to take on all these Zerglings. The queens having to retreat, allowing the Zerglings to get in here for Spanishiwa. The drones were being pulled off there momentarily. More transfuses going off on both the Spinecrawler as well as the queens. The Spinecrawler may go down. It does. And just more Zerglings going to try to get us around on all these queens. But the queens have a little bit of energy. Maybe 1 more transfuse. And now Spanishiwa going to have to use these drones as more and more Zerglings dart in here. And they're going to try to get us around on these queens. But the queens doing a nice job fending off the Zerglings. FireZerg just consistently sending more and more Zerglings though. Another 20 in production, and they're able to make it across the map here very quickly. So now Spanishiwa coming out with a few Zerglings of his own, doing his best, throwing down another 2 Spinecrawlers, and he has been taking up. He's going to get up 3 Overseers, so he may be doing some sort of contaminate with those. See him go mass Overseers in many of the matchups here, and he's also getting down the infestation pit. FireZerg does have 30 Zerglings now compared to the 20 of Spanishiwa, but Spanishiwa does have 16 more drones than FireZerg, so cutting his economy big time. And Spanishiwa is actually going to be able to use the drones to fight a little bit here as well. The Spinecrawler's about to finish. So with these queens, now 4 queens down here, and the Spinecrawlers, and he's not at too much of a deficit for Zerglings at this point. It's 24 to 28. I imagine FireZerg will not be able to beat this defense. If we check out the production tab, it looks like more roaches on the way for FireZerg. So coming in with the roaches, those will be the answer to both the lings and the queens. Roaches doing very good with that 1 armor against lings, and it doesn't look like Spanishiwa getting out upgrades in the early going here. Typically he likes to go for a very fast 1-1 as soon as his gas does come up, but instead he's getting up infestors, the pathogen glands, as well as burrow. And it looks like FireZerg is preparing for some sort of attack here. If we check out the army tab, it is 1375 to 1100. and a lot of the food count is in a drone advantage for Spanishiwa at this point, 40 to 27, but he's got all these queens out. Some are at pretty high energy. It looks like he's got 4 or 5 transfuses in there. It looks like FireZerg will be pulling back, perhaps not liking the scouting, as he did send a Zergling in there to see the numbers of units which Spanishiwa does have. And if we check out the production tab, it looks like he's coming out with a Baneling nest. So maybe delaying this push just momentarily to get up the Baneling nest. And now it looks like Spanishiwa are going to try to take another free Overlord. And this will sidecap FireZerg at the moment. And now pushing out these burrowed infestors. They did come out with the extra energy from those pathogen glands. So 6 fungal growths out and available for Spanishiwa at this point. And this is sort of where in most of the matchups he wrestles back map control. He doesn't have those speedlings controlling the map in the early going. So once he gets out fungal growth, nobody can really push across because they're just too afraid. They need detection. We'll see if we have any detection for FireZerg. I believe he does not have any overseers at this point. And Spanishiwa, seeing all this, sees these Banelings morphing in. The Banelings do have just 30 health, so the fungal growth is going to take out all those Banelings. That's huge. Wow. So all those Banelings going down. Finally, the Overseer Cocoon coming in here. And Spanishiwa burrowing these infestors. He's going to be able to do a little bit more damage. He's got 3 infestors. But all those Banelings went down and foiled the plans of FireZerg. He's going to push out. The Banelings would have been huge against just the Zergling defense, which Spanishiwa has at this point. A few infested Terran going up in the mineral line. Going to try to focus down a few of these Zerglings. But now the Overseer is out, going to hunt down this last infestor. Does not have enough energy or life to do anything, as it will go down. 1 burrowed infestor will make its way home, reporting the victory to Spanishiwa's other units. The Queens ought to be happy, as we see a Roach Warren up for Spanishiwa, speed on the way, and now he's going to be matching his opponent's Roach for Roach. If we check the income tab, it is 41 harvesters to 36. Army tab, Spanishiwa, a huge advantage now, 2,700 to 1,375, and that's just because FireZerg lost all those Banelings and Zerglings with those few key clutch fungals. Now running in here, going to try to get into this third and maybe perhaps get a surround on it and take it down, but the Roaches should be able to clean this up before the Zerglings are able to take down the hatchery. It looks like FireZerg now getting up his own third. But again, he is behind economy-wise, 41 to now, no, 42, as he is droning up pretty hard here. So if he's able to drone up and get ahead in economy, he could perhaps push ahead in the army count. This might be a good timing for Spanishiwa. He could be waiting for the Galio reconstitution, and he will definitely be waiting on these 5 Ultralisks. Wow. So he's able to get up all this tech, even under this pressure in the early going from FireZerg, and now he's getting 6 Ultras up. So in about 50 seconds, it's going to look bad for FireZerg. He doesn't have much in the army count at this point. He's just got these 9 Roaches and these 3 Banelings. So he's doing his best to just drone up. Not really sure what he's going for tech-wise here, as he's got nothing coming out besides these infestors. He's going to have 5 infestors. They do not have the pathogen glands, though, so they won't have enough energy to do anything. And the fungal growth is not going to slow down these Ultralisks when they do come out. Wow, so Spanishiwa has got quite the advantage now, 4,200, as these Ultras do pop out to the 1,300. So pushing forward here. Looks like he's got the chitinous plating as well as the pneumatized carapace on the way. Chitinous going to be adding 2 armor to these Ultralisks, but again, he's not been working on these upgrades. And FireZerg is going to see these Ultras pushing out with this Overlord. And I guess he just leaves without a GG. But it was pretty much GG anyway, as the army count was 4,500 to just the 1,400. And FireZerg kind of went all in with that Zergling pressure at the start. He was not able to make it up that ramp and do too much damage to those drones. Anytime he was able to make it up the ramp, the drones were able to fend for themselves a little bit. And Spanishiwa, a very fascinating opening. Used mostly Queens, a Spine Crawler or 2, and pulled off some drones when he needed a little bit extra DPS. FireZerg just kept coming. Finally got up to that Baneling nest, and I feel like he was going to push out those Banelings and those Roaches. The Banelings would have done huge damage against the Zerglings. Perhaps the Roaches would have fared better against the Queens than the Zerglings did. but those fungals right on time, able to take down all those banelings. It looks like they exploded. You know, usually a Zerg player loves that that explosion, because that means Marines or Zerglings or drones or SCVs have just met their demise. But that was a bad explosion for FireZerg, as it pretty much cost him the game there. And vileSpanishiwa showing very strong ZVZ. If you're looking for more Spanishiwa or SC2 action in general, check out my channel, Matron StarCraft. Really pushing for 3K subscribers this weekend. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to do that. Also, I've been offering coaching all this week as well. So if you are a like a diamond or platinum player or below and looking to advance your game as Zerg or Protoss, look at the sidebar for my channel. Offer pretty reasonable rates, and I think all my students have been happy thus far. Some going from bronze all the way up to platinum in just a short while. Got a few broaching on diamond as well, so if you're looking on improving your game, check that out. As always, thanks for watching this one. Take care.